Welcome to Reform the LA Way. I'm Monica Garcia, and on today's show, we are highlighting the work done by Brothers, Sons, Selves, a coalition of LA community organizations working towards a common agenda to improve the lives of young men. Joining me to discuss this effort are Tonya Onyendu, campaign manager of Brothers, Sons, Selves, and Timothy Walker, a community coalition member from Crenshaw High School, and Josh Ham, a community coalition member from Manual Arts High School. Gentlemen, welcome.
Welcome.
Tona, tell us a little bit of just Brothers, Sons, Selves to start off.
Sure. So Brothers, Sons, Selves is a coalition of 9 organizations from across 3 neighborhoods in LA County: Long Beach, South LA, and Boyle Heights. And again, very much focused on improving life and health outcomes for young men of color. It's part of a larger statewide initiative focused on the same thing around, again, improving outcomes for boys and men of color. And so our current work is focused on school discipline policies and practices, and more largely around dismantling what folks have named the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah, that sounds intense. So for a high school senior, how does this work fit into what you're doing at Manual Arts?
Well, for me being a senior, I wanted to make sure that our kids are protected, and like Tony was saying, we've been actually putting in work, trying to make sure our stuff is implemented to protect our youth, make sure they have equal opportunity to redeem themselves back into the classroom, and have a quality education so they won't be deprived, So
yeah.
Me being a senior, I just want to make sure my young ones win, you feel me, they succeed, because I'm excited. It took us 2 years to win, so I'm happy.
Now, when you say 2 years to win, you're talking about that resolution.
Yeah, the resolution.
Yeah.
The process it took us.
A lot of work. A lot of work. Timothy, what's this been like for you?
Well, I would say that me being a sophomore, it kind of gives me just the enthusiasm to make sure that the people that, like he said, ninth graders, even my own family members, that they will have a culture where they feel comfortable to be, not where it's just students against the teachers, where they have an arsenal that they feel that will help them get to college, basically.
Mm-hmm. And that's really what it's all about, right? So take us a step and tell us about this resolution that the board passed on.
Yes, and again, I want to start by thanking you for your leadership on getting that resolution passed. So essentially, it's what we've coined as a school climate bill of rights. It's a comprehensive set of reforms that is focused on really prioritizing the use of positive approaches to school discipline as a means to create an overall healthy, safe, and supportive school learning environment. And so part of the process of really developing this resolution came partially through our experience working on statewide legislation. There were 5 statewide bills that passed last year that have really created a strong foundation for us to continue to build on, again, our efforts to dismantle this school to prison pipeline. So we played a very significant role in that work. But then also we were going through our own internal process as a coalition to determine what was going to be our unique contribution to addressing these issues. And so that's where the School Climate Bill of Rights came from. It was very much heavily driven by the young people. And one of the biggest reforms that's gotten a lot of attention, as we're all well aware, is banning suspensions for willful defiance.
Willful defiance. So what would you want people to know about, what does that mean, willful defiance?
Well, willful defiance in my school can be as simple as not listening when the teacher tells you to get up to move, or, you put something in the trash can without permission and you get sent out because they felt like you should ask first,
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of if I'm talking or just being loud or something like that, maybe I'm not feeling that day or something like that, so I might tend to lash out, you know what I'm saying, or try to be the class clown because, I'm feeling a little down, so I want to make myself feel better. So me talking, the teacher might say, oh, can you move? And me being young, us being rebellious, we don't listen, so we get kicked out. And then if the teacher is going off of their emotions, they be like, well, I don't want him back in here for 2-3 days. So you end up being out the classroom, missing a lesson. And sometimes teachers will be nice and let you redeem the work that you missed, or you just lost some points, So it's a lot of different stuff that kids do that get them in trouble, and we have no voice to really speak up upon it. We can't do nothing about it really because they're the authority.
Right.
Yeah, and again, I think Josh raises a really good point around willful defiance, which is that it's really a catch-all category. It's arbitrary, it's a bit subjective. It's really up to the authority figure to determine whether or not a student is being quote unquote willfully defiant. And so there's real unrestricted discretion in terms of how, or in regards to how it's applied. And I think that's part of the reason why it's become such a major issue, even across the state. I mean, about 50% of suspensions last year in California were for willful defiance, which are some of the minor offenses that Josh alluded to. A third of them were in LAUSD were for, again, willful defiance. And so, and in particular within those numbers, we see that African American students are disproportionately impacted, right? Yeah. And so that's really at the crux of it, is that because there's so much unrestricted discretion to how it's applied, it leaves space for disproportionality to really come into play.
That's right. And I remember seeing something that we used to have 52,000 suspensions some years ago, and last year our number was 18,000.
Absolutely.
Of the 18,000, 17,000 and change were African American and Latinos. And so while some people have said there's nothing wrong with willful defiance as a category for suspension, it's our application, right? So we heard some people saying, hey, we should go to the schools where they're abusing it and change that. But we really wanted to say, this is not the way to go. We need to keep young people in school for achievement, for budget, and for discipline. You learn when you're in school. Yeah. Timothy, what do you think about that?
Well, they said a lot, but I basically feel like at Crenshaw, the first thing that they do when a student is acting up is they go right to the phone, and I would say like what they say is the discipline action that they want it to be called is willful defiance. And it's like, not everything is being willfully defiant. It's like, just because I don't want to take a hat off or I'm not doing the right thing, like in your opinion, I shouldn't be able to miss school, or I shouldn't be kicked out because of your opinion of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. And so you've seen young people been sent out of the classroom?
All the time.
And does it vary? Like in classroom A, it's okay to do this, but in classroom B, you'll get sent out of class?
Well, I mean, it's like the culture on the school. It's like, that's the first thing that they want to do. The first thing that they want to do is get on the phone and call like the dean or whatever. And it's like, I feel like it should be another thing that's implemented in there, like to make me feel that I can have somebody to talk to about it, not just if I do this, I already know what's gonna happen. I'm going right to the dean, or I'm gonna get detention or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like it shouldn't be that fear, like you getting kicked out. Like, let's find more positive alternatives, like when you acting up or you need to be disciplined, have some counseling for that child, or get to the root cause of why they acting like that. No kid is coming to school like, I'm gonna be angry or I'm gonna disobey the teacher. Like no kid come to school thinking that way. It's all about how they feeling, and they going off of their emotions, and they don't know how to cope with their feelings, so they may tend to act out. And then you have this teacher that's probably been working all day, and they don't know how to deal with that. So you're out of here, dean. You feel me? So it's kind of like, where can we establish that relationship between the teacher and that student to be able to sit down and be like, what's going on, and like, what's going on, how can we help you, how can I better support you as a teacher to help you, I'm not saying it's all the kid's fault, but the teacher should contribute to that kid's happiness so y'all can have a more positive learning environment, what I'm saying, kind of set the mood in a sense, like if I feel like, man, a teacher real cool, like I like him a lot, I like he or she a lot, like I love going to that class, they actually enjoy learning more because they feel like, wow, this teacher cares about me because they sat me down and talk to me, you feel me, and ask me how I'm feeling as a person, as a young person, and actually do I need anything, That's all kids want, is to feel like someone care about them, like we come to school mad, or we tend not to respect some of the stuff because like, you don't care about me, like why are you even trying to talk to me or tell me to go to class? You don't care if I go to class or stand out of it, So kind of like establishing that trust and like being able to talk to the staff about their problems and their issues and work on it, and change the learning environment and make it more positive and interactive. So kids be like, you know what, I want to go to school today, I want to learn, instead of being like, I'm going to ditch that class because I don't like the way she be acting or she be kicking people out. Like, we shouldn't have that fear of going to class. We should want to go to class, but it's not like that, and we need to work on that.
So some people have asked me, why would you think this is a good idea? Why do we have to, we're sending a bad message to students that we're allowing you to act up or act badly. Have you guys talked about this issue? Like, are we telling students, since you won't get suspended, go ahead and dismiss everybody in authority?
Yeah, we have talked about it. I think part of what plays into that is this misperception that there are a couple students in the class, there's 3 to 5 students in the classroom who are just disruptive, who don't want to be there, who don't want to learn, and they're messing it up for everyone else. And what this reform is going to do is give them a free pass, right? But what we recognize through our experience actually working directly with young people through this campaign is that the student who can sometimes be disruptive is also the student who really wants to learn, that they're not two separate people, right? And that so what we're trying to accomplish through this work is to really begin to change that relationship so that we start to see all of these students as opposed to just part of these students.
So at the schools that you have seen this work, restorative justice, a lot of people, we had a lot of conversation, what is restorative justice? How would you help us understand what is restorative? So we're saying instead of willful defiance suspension, we have to implement something of restorative justice.
It's kind of like what I touched on earlier. Sending them to like a counselor, like somebody that can mediate them, or like if 2 kids get in a fight, they can get to the root cause and understand why the kid got into the fight. They can go back into the classroom, not be like, okay, suspended, you guys are suspended, you're out of here, you know, because they still will have that tension. Then they're suspended. On top of that, they're still going to be thinking about the fight, you know. But kind of like having a more positive resolution and get to the cause of like why they fought, you know. That's kind of what we're trying to do, is give kids the opportunity to have a voice and talk and find out what's bothering them, you know, because a lot of kids have a lot of baggage on them, you know. A lot of my friends stay with their grandparents or stay with their auntie due to what their parents probably went through, or some of their parents are dead. You know, I only have one parent, it's only me and my mom. I really don't have too many family like that in California, you know. So, you know, people tend to think about a lot of young people, like, I have to work, help my mom, you know, like, I shouldn't have to do that. I should be able to enjoy my teenage years. But instead, I have to worry about working, schoolwork, applying for college. We have a lot of gang affiliation in our community, so life and death, so, you know, every day. And, you know, not making an excuse, but this is what we have to live with. And some kids can cope with the situation, still stay humble and smile, and some of them be angry about a lot of things. So it's kind of like, you know, having that balance and trying to pick out them kids, the ones we need to help, you know?
Yeah, I think Josh brings up a really good point, is that a lot of young people who come from low-income communities of color are dealing with a lot of different issues, either in the community or in the home, that sometimes contributes to how they show up in a space. Right. And that can lead to disruption in the classroom, as an example. But restorative justice is really about going through a process to, again, understand the root cause of that issue, figuring out a way to give some student agency in regards to figuring out the best way to address that issue, and then again going through a process to reintegrate them effectively back into the community. And so it makes me think of a story that was shared by a teacher at Augustus Hawkins. And she spoke to a student in her classroom who had cussed at her. And she was completely livid. She was extremely upset, felt completely disrespected, and felt like that student needed to be suspended. And she spoke with her administrator and wanted to have that student suspended. But at Augustus Hawkins, they're really trying to establish a culture that's student-centered, and that's about sustainability. Mm-hmm. And part of sustainability is really about ensuring that we have strong, deep, meaningful relationships with students, and that when issues like that occur, that we go through a process to restore that broken relationship. And so she was consulted by some of her peers on campus, and they had suggested that she try restorative justice practice of actually writing a letter to the student, letting the student know how she felt when that situation happened and what that did to her. And the student actually wrote back to her as well, sharing what he was going through at the time. And then also through that process actually took responsibility for his actions. And then they took it a step further and actually read their letters in front of the class and shared it with the class and provided them an opportunity to see how they've been able to mend their relationship. And in fact, what came out of that process was that the students in the classroom began to also hold that student accountable, to say, as he was reading his letter, yeah, that's true, but you know, you also did this, right? And again, even increasing the level of accountability through that process, and showing that there was a real engagement that happened to ensure that that student could come back successfully.
Let's talk more about this example. We'll be right back with my guest to delve deeper into the work done by Brothers, Sons, Selves right after this KLCS News Brief.
today at the Special Olympics as like a celebrity guest. I'm from a show called Austin and Ally, and it's kind of funny because, you know, all the kids are happy and they watch the show that I'm on, but honestly, they're the ones who are making me super happy. Like, all the kids who are volunteering here, the Special Olympics kids just like made our day. Like, we can't stop smiling. They're so cute, they're so happy, they're working so hard, and it's kind of amazing.
The school games partnership that we have with Special Olympics Southern California began in 2007. It was a way for our district, in collaboration with Special Olympics, and now here obviously in collaboration with Chaminade High School, where we have the opportunity to provide children the chance to compete in an athletic event.
It's definitely been an amazing experience because you could truly tell through their faces and their laughter that they're really enjoying themselves out here, and I think that's a really humbling experience for me. Part of the reason I do these things is because you get to have that experience with the people and you get to interact with them, and it's always nice to be out here and just help them.
This is actually like by far the best thing that I do on diversity, and I think a lot of people agree with that in general. When we have our pamphlets out for diversity, we especially talk about Special Olympics because it's just the most rewarding, not only for the kids, but it's super rewarding for us. We love it. You get to work with the kids, and my friend just came up to me and told me how happy she was because some kid just ran up to her and said, "Aren't you so happy?" And she's like, "I'm so happy." So it's things like that that are just like the most important things in life, and that's what really you get the best experience from this. So we couldn't be happier to do it each year.
Welcome back to Reform the LA Way as our conversation continues regarding the important work done in our community by Brothers, Sons, Selves, and the community organizations that support them. So, Donna, you just shared a story about a teacher who experienced a corrective action with restorative justice where she felt disrespected and her peers encouraged her to write a letter. Instead of suspending the student, there was an alternative process. How do you think, if you were the student, how do you think restorative justice helps the teaching and learning on a campus? What impact does that have on a school if instead of just being mad at you and suspending you because I'm actually telling you how you made me feel, what that did to our learning environment? How do you think students would respond when people take time to talk about, behavior?
I feel like the way our school handles like discipline now, it's like suspensions for everything. And I feel like once you get something like implemented in your school, like restorative justice, it creates like a whole different culture. Like just being in a room where you're not blaming somebody, you're just sharing ideas. It gets like a weight lifted off of you, and it's like I actually feel good after I've went to like one of the restorative justice workshops, and it's like I don't get that. Some people don't even get that at home, but if you could get it at school where you spend most of your time anyway, then that's like it's great. It's that, and rather than getting suspended for not taking off your hat.
Wow, that's really deep. So You're thinking that sometimes there's times where students just feel blamed for things.
Right. Ooh, all the time.
Mm-hmm. Really?
All the time. Like in my school, I was sharing a story with somebody. Like in middle school, I went to John Muir Middle School in South Central also. And I was sitting in the class. I'm usually the class clown, to be honest, always the comedian, right? And one day I was just, chilling. One day just relaxing. I just feel like it was a day to chill, So it was the same class I was chilling. And somebody was actually talking, and this time, like being loud, trying to be the funny one this time. And the teacher just turned to me like, "Josh, get out." And I was just like, well, like, I didn't even do nothing. She's like, "I don't want to hear nothing else. Like, just get out." And it's like, wow, like, and me, I'm just laughing like, what? Like, why do I have to leave? And she didn't give me no time to explain myself. And to be honest, I actually just stood there. I was like, this is a peaceful protest. Like, I didn't do nothing. So I just sat there because I'm like, this is unjust. Like, I didn't do nothing, So the administration ended up coming, like, come on. And I just felt like powerless. Like, wow, like, she got all this support, all this help. Like, but where's the support for the youth at, Like, we're my advocate, And I had to get out, and I got suspended for 2 days. And I had to write a letter, like, apologizing for talking. And I didn't even talk that day. I just felt like, wow, like, no, I can't appeal this or something. Like, I just feel like it should have been a whole nother process. But I was younger, me being ignorant, so I just kept acting the same way. Like, I was even more upset. So every time I went in there, I was really okay. Like, I was even more angry. So.
And that's what we're really trying to get at, right? With the willful defiance and the restorative justice, the idea, or not using willful defiance, the idea that there is a place to talk about our feelings. And some people would say to me, hey, Monica, that's great, but LA Unified, you got budget cuts, you don't have these folks. How do you think some of our campuses are doing it that didn't get more resources, but yet suspensions are down and this relationship is up?
You don't really need money. I just feel like they need to just, as staff, we need to just change our whole thought process of how we deal with certain situations, You don't necessarily need funding just to tell a kid how to act, or tell a teacher how to react, Just it's all about how we perceive certain things. Like, okay, a kid talk, I'm the teacher, I'm teaching a lesson. We have somebody that keep talking. I can easily send them out, and that can be the problem. But what's going to happen to that kid when you walk up the classroom? Did he learn anything? Did he grasp any of the curriculum I was teaching? No, he's losing out. So that's another kid that fell through the cracks. You feel me? Yeah. Because we keep on, pressing him. Where is the lesson going to come in? So it's all about kind of like, oh, excuse me, can you stop talking? Like, we teaching this lesson, let's get through it. And then after that, you guys can have free time. Kind of like giving them that balance, of being able to talk, because we're growing children. We want to talk. We can just be quiet, like,
well, you're helping people make choices. You're helping build consciousness about the consequence of behavior. If you pay attention through the lesson, you can learn something and then have your discussion with whoever you're talking to.
Right.
Or if you're going to continue to interrupt and stop, I'm going to do something else. What were you going to say, Tony?
Yeah, so I mean, there's some examples that already exist within LAUSD of schools that have been able to change the disciplinary approach, right? Part of it is because of, again, LAUSD has actually been a vanguard on this issue. In 2007, passed positive behavior intervention support as a discipline foundation policy. And so, and then it just became about whether or not administrators really wanted to, again, change their thought process, change their approach to school discipline. And so a very important example, one that's always highlighted, is Garfield High School, that was able to reduce the suspension rate from 683 to 1 in a year, right?
Or 2 years.
In 2 years, right? From 683 to 1. And it's because they decided to take a different approach. They were much more intentional about parent engagement, much more intentional about providing professional development, and it was very much under the leadership of the principal. Another key example that folks don't necessarily know about is Jefferson High School. And at Jefferson, they reduced their suspension rate from 149 in 2010-2011 to 3 in 2011-2012. And it was because they made a conscious decision to say that suspension is not going to be our first resort. And instead, we're going to be much more intentional about engaging with parents and bringing them into this process, and then also providing professional development to teachers so that they can be better equipped to deal with at-risk students, right? But again, it's that the capacity and the expertise already exists within the district. It just becomes about whether or not the administration and the school leadership has the will to change its approach.
Isn't that amazing? I did hear one of the administrators from Garfield say, I had to change myself before I would participate in changing the school. And it is a big deal on attitude shift and what's the purpose, right? And I think for me as a policymaker, you all were very effective in saying the punitive approach has not worked. Right. The punitive approach has not helped our achievement or really safety or the budget. Right. And so this opportunity to try something else, I think, was very, very important. So if you wanted to invite other students to get involved in participating in Brother, Son, Selves, what do we tell them?
I guess you would tell them that it's a chance to advocate for the people that you go to school with all the times. It's an opportunity to make sure that their school have the right resources. It's an opportunity to make sure that not only you, but the rest of the people that you live with, that your family has a chance to go to college.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I would just tell them it's time to progress, not even just as a community, be like, as a state or just as a nation, as a planet, education is key for our success, to be able to really articulate ourselves and our skills and progress as people, you know, and you got to get through it, you know. Don't suspend kids, or, you know, just give kids the opportunity to shine, or, you know, let them be themselves, you know. Don't always, I guess, like, tell them to stop doing something, I guess, like not being themselves. You know, if they want to be funny, try to find a lesson where they can use their funniness, you know, to kind of like help target their careers when they get older. So when they get older, they can know what they want to do, or, you know, they can better find themselves in a sense, you know, like have a curriculum that can help them develop like their career in their career field, you know, to be honest.
Yeah.
So to join?
Yeah, so to join, one is that you can go on the Liberty Hill website, www.libertyhill.org, and then you can follow the link to Brother Son Selves, and that can give you more information about how you can get involved. You know, I just want to make this quick point, which is that we were able to win this resolution. It's very exciting. There's immense opportunity to really shift significantly the climate and culture of campuses at LAUSD. But we know that to really ensure that that becomes real, that the community has to be engaged in implementation. And so we really look forward to continuing to collaborate with your office, with the superintendent, and with the rest of the district to ensure that the reforms that are laid out in this resolution become real.
That's right. And I just want to give a shout out to proud of the board, proud of the superintendent,
Absolutely.
and Chief Zipperman is,
Absolutely.
and school police. We had them all saying we want to be part of the solution.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure more kids get to graduation. So thank you, guests, for being
you.
with me. And thank you all for joining us. If you want to learn more about what we're doing here or to contact me, visit www.lausd.net. I'm Monica Garcia. In order to reform our schools and create the best opportunities for our young people, we all have to do our part. So join me as we reform LA and make the LAUSD the best school district in the entire nation. Thank you for watching.